welcome to Thursday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and today we've got another puzzle by Agent for you. Agent's puzzles have been an absolute joy to me over the last month or two. This one's called Polynesia. So after we had the Cape Verde puzzle from Codec yesterday, we've got more island stuff going on. And the reason we're going to be doing this is that I had an email from a setter and solver indeed that I very much admire. And this person said that this puzzle is so magnificent it needs to appear on Cracking the Cryptic. And it came with a warning, the email. Basically it said that it's got quite a long rule set, this puzzle. They said you must beg people not to be put off by the rule set, and you must beg people not to be put off by the fact it isn't strictly a Sudoku puzzle either. But it's apparently got such beautiful logic in it that people will fall in love with it. So there you go. That is the recommendation, not from me. I hope I will be able to add my own recommendation once I've had a go at this. But this should certainly be something of a treat. I did look it up on Logic Masters Germany. It has a 100% perfect rating and 4 stars out of 5 for difficulty. Although the email suggested that it's not that hard. We shall see. Now, I've got a few things to mention actually before we kick off today. I'll start off with the cool news. This is one of the pages from a book that we hope to make, Cracking the Cryptic's Greatest Hits Volume 2. There is going to be a Kickstarter for this any moment. Well, it's not any moment, it's hopefully at the end of next week. And you can see there's a mock-up here of what the page for Everything is Roggen by Demono is going to look like. So this is something we're super stoked about. It's coming really soon. So I just wanted to share that with you. Now, next, we're going to be streaming. Yes, on Sunday night, the plan, 10 o'clock UK time. We'd love to have your company. We've got 2 puzzles left to do from our own 500,000 subscriber special app. So we're planning to hopefully make our way through those 2 and then start a new series of puzzles, which is probably going to hoist me by my own petard, because I foolishly made the claim on a stream that I could definitely identify puzzle setters just by solving a puzzle without knowing who the setter is. And Mark said that was absolutely ridiculous. And the Sudoku Skunkworks have worked their magic again. We're going to get onto them in a minute with Duality. But they apparently have created a whole load of puzzles which are going to be anonymous. And my job will be to solve it and then identify the setter just from the solve process, which I'm pretty sure I might be able to do, but I'm feeling a bit less confident than I was. So anyway, that's Sunday night. If you have any time to spare, we'd love to see you. Now, next thing, what else do I need to mention? I'm going to start with some announcements. So, Adam, I think you've turned 7 years old today. Am I right? I hope I'm right. Your Aunt Amy wrote to us and said that you watched the channel, which we're absolutely delighted to hear. And Adam, I hope you have a brilliant day. I hope that you've had enough cake today. If not, make sure they give you a bit more. Now next, this is awful. Yesterday was Long Way to Tipperary's birthday. Now, those of you who follow the channel will know that Long Way to Tipperary is just a wonderful member of our community. She's so supportive of everything we do, basically. Always one of the people who leaves kind comments on the videos. In fact, she wanted me to shout out 2 other wonderful contributors, David Ratner and Emily Williams, who, if you frequent our comments, you'll also find lots of super stuff from them as well. And it was Long Way to Tipperary's birthday yesterday, but for some reason the email that told us this went into our spam box. So we didn't find out that until yesterday. We only found it out serendipitously, but by which time we both recorded our video. So Long Way to Tipperary, I'm so sorry. I'm delighted to hear that you've had a brilliant birthday, and I'm slightly surprised to hear that you still had cake left over, but that's going to make today better. Now, what else? Well, Lucy, you've turned 19 today, I think. And we've got your 5th grade teacher to thank for introducing you to Cracking the Cryptic. So thank you, 5th grade teacher, and Lucy, I hope you have a great day. And also I wanted to shout out to Kate Mueller. Now, Kate is an ex-Navy captain over there in Chattanooga in Tennessee. And we had a really quite emotional email from your son Mitchell, And I just wanted, Kate, I wanted to wish you well, tell you to keep fighting the good fight and keep cracking, and all the very best. And then other than that, what else do I need to mention? Duality. We have so badly underestimated. I mean, we shouldn't underestimate how clever our audience is. And we don't as a rule. But I will tell you that Mark thought that maybe 50 of you would get through all 14 puzzles of the Duality pack. That was very, very substantially wrong. Very, very substantially wrong. We've had thousands of you who've managed to solve the first 4 puzzles of the pack, but we have had hundreds and hundreds of people who've managed to solve all 14, which is just a tremendous solving effort. It really is. And I need to say, congratulations. I'm doing these in the order in which we received the correct answers. So these people actually sent in their correct solutions a couple of days ago. So Monica, James Schabel, I think, Nathan Cox, Bernhard Schlickner, Megan Swanson, Bill Alsop, Stephanie Barker, John Beam, I think, Amy Lackas, David Younts, Jake Ferenc. Now, Jake, I hope your COVID is better now. I know you've been sick with that. Morgan Piper, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Dave and Marie Creech, and Derek Kisman, who goes under the pseudonym Snapdragon. Now, Derek, I think we have met. I think you're one of the Canadian stalwarts in the World Puzzle Championship, so a seriously brilliant solver. And yeah, great that you had a go at our Duality pack, and well played indeed. That's all the news. So, with all that said and done, let us have a look at Polynesia by Agent, and I will read you the rules. And yeah, I have read these rules once, and it didn't strike me that there's some Sudoku going on, I think, but it's not a pure Sudoku puzzle. And in fact, this grid is most certainly not 9 by 9, is it? What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's square, so it's 11 by 11. Now, our job is to shade some cells in the grid so that all shaded cells are orthogonally connected. That means orthogonally means sharing an edge like this. So those 2 cells are orthogonally connected. These 2 are not orthogonally connected. They only connect at a point. So we've got to shade some cells so that all shaded cells are orthogonally connected. No 2 by 2 area can be fully shaded. Place some digits from 1 to 9 in unshaded cells such that no repeating digits occur in any row or column. Well, that's a bit Sudoku-y. Shaded cells do not contain digits, and it's the shaded cells that have to be connected in the grid. Right, okay. Groups of orthogonally connected unshaded cells form islands, hence the name of the puzzle, which do not touch orthogonally, but may touch diagonally. An island of size n must contain the digits 1 to n once each. So it's a bit like a triangular numbered killer cage then, I think. Cells with arrows contain a digit that indicates the total number of unshaded cells, including itself, in the indicated directions combined. Okay, so let's just make that a 9 for the sake of argument. If that was a 9, it would be saying that there would be 9 unshaded cells in those directions and those directions, including this cell. Does that cell have to be unshaded? Yeah, I suppose it does, because it says shaded cells do not contain digits. So this would be unshaded, and there would be 9 unshadeds altogether in those. How many cells is that? 15? Something like 15 maybe cells. Caged cells. Okay, so we've got some caged cells in the grid. Caged cells contain a digit that indicates the size of the corresponding island. All possible cages are given. Ah, well, that's quite interesting. Okay, I'll explain what I think that means once I start solving, because I think it's almost a solving point. Caged cells contain a digit that indicates the size of the corresponding island. and islands contain the digits 1 to n. Yeah, okay. So this is a very interesting rule set that I think there's a lot going on in it. It might be worth, I've read it twice now, so it might be worth you reading it twice if you're not sure what's going on. I think there are some things going on that we're going to be able to determine quite quickly. Do have a go, though. The way to play is to click the link under the video, as usual. And now I get to play. Let's get cracking, and let's see what all the fuss is about. So, the first thing I'm thinking here is that because all possible cages are given, all of the islands in this puzzle have to have a cage. So, for example, if we were, I don't really know how to do this. I think this is like C is an island, isn't it? So C can be blue, but let's imagine that we worked out those cells were C. Then could that cell be an island? I think the idea of this is to say no, because if this was an island, it would, I think, need to contain a 1, because an island of size n must contain the digits 1 to n once each, so that's going to have to contain a 1, and therefore it needs to be caged, because all possible cages are given. Caged cells contain a digit that indicates the size of the corresponding island, so the only thing that could be caged on this island is the 1, so that should have a cage, and it doesn't. So this would be illegal, is I think what we're being told. Now the other thing I'm thinking, as I suddenly read the rules and begin to understand them, is that the caged cell on each island is the biggest number, which perhaps is totally obvious if you read the rules, but I've only just appreciated it as I was doing this example. So it's the biggest number, because imagine those 3 cells are caged and surrounded. In fact, look, this is silly. I'm going to have to include that in order to make use of the cage. Let's say that this was the island. Then we know that the caged cell contains a digit indicating the size of this island. So that's going to contain a 6. And those squares would have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because we know each island contains the digits 1 to 6 once each. So there are, I think, some things going on here that we can immediately start to appreciate. Now, I'm not sure what else we can appreciate here, but perhaps what we should start doing, therefore, is, well, we know that each cage is on an island. So we should label these as island cells, which we're going to make orange. Now, the arrow cells, aren't they also island cells? Because don't they have to have a number? There was something in here about shaded cells do not contain digits. Shaded cells do not contain digits, yeah, and the shaded cells are the C. They're the things that's the area of the grid that has to all be orthogonally connected together. So I think arrow cells, let me just go to the bit in the instructions that talk about arrow cells. Cells with arrows contain a digit, yes. Okay, so these are all also orange. And therefore, right, okay, here we go. Here we go. Right, well, let me ask you a question. Is this cell orange? And the answer to that, I am going to allege, is no. Because if that's orange, we've got 2 caged cells in the same island. And therefore, that both of those cells would have to contain the size of the island, and that would repeat a digit on an island. And I don't think that's what the rules say can happen. Once each, yeah, an island of size n must contain the digits 1 to n once each. So you can never orthogonally connect 2 cages together. So those 2 cells have to be blue. Now, remember the blue connects to each other, so those are all blue, because this blue has to get out of this little cul-de-sac it's been pinioned into. That cell's got to be blue, because otherwise this cage connects to that cage, and this blue has to get out. This is going to be gorgeous. This is going to be gorgeous. He says, and then comes to an absolute grinding halt. Right, keep cages apart. Right, those have to be kept apart. So that means that get the blue to connect to its friend, so it's got to come out to there. Oh, bar humbug. Right, what next? I can see that one can't connect to that one, but I don't... Well, actually, that does have to be bigger than it currently is, because this is looking 4 ways and counting up orange cells in basically... It's saying how many orange cells are in all of those cells I've just highlighted. Now, I've got no idea what the answer to that is, but I can see it's at least 2. So this must be at least a 2, which means that must grow, and then it can't join here because these 2 cells would then contain the same digit. So that's blue. This blue hasn't got out, so that's blue. Now, if we can extend... Oh! I was about to say if we can extend this again, but this is really beautiful. So because this is extended once, because it couldn't be a 1-cell region, it now picks up this cell, which means this must be at least a 3-cell region now, because it sees 3 oranges. And that means I extend it again, I think. That doesn't iterate though, does it? Because this cell is not in a sort of linear direction on one of those axes. That blue's got to get out though. So this is in danger of getting penned in. Oh, right, and I can write that digit in. That digit is saying how many orange squares are there in this direction, including this cell. That's just a 2. So that's just a 3, which is quite cool. Oh, and that's important. Right, okay. So this square now cannot be a 3. And if it was a 3, that would be blue. So it's got to be at least 4, because there's already 3 oranges in its region, and it can't itself be a 3. So it's got to poke out, which means that blue's got to turn. And this digit is orange on the axis of evil that goes on in these directions, isn't it? So now the count for this sort of compass-shaped cell is 1, 2, 3, 4 at least. So this has got to grow, so it's got to go down there where it can't touch this one next, so it's got to do that. This is all getting trapped into this corner, so that's got to get out. Now, can this be a 1? Now that's not got an arrow. That's interesting. Right, so this is a lot less constrained than this one. Okie dokie. So let's think about this now. Oh, that digit's got problems now. Yes, that digit has that. This digit's almost, well, this cell is almost broken, except in one instance. So what can be the count of orange cells that this arrow is pointing at? Well, if all 3 of those were orange, it would be a 3. That doesn't work. If 2 of them were orange, it would be a 2. That doesn't work. So it must be a 1, counting only itself. So those 2 are both blue. Okay. Right. So now there is an interesting thing I can see, which is that both of those cells can't be blue. Because remember, it said in the instructions that we can't have 2 by 2 areas that are fully blued, in effect. It actually says fully shaded, but it's much more, I think it's much more accurate to say fully blued. Now, if both of these cells were blue, we'd have a 2 by 2 of blue. So we can't do that. So at least one of these, in fact, exactly one of these cells must be orange, because if both were orange, the blue would be isolated. So exactly one of these is orange. Now that contributes to this count again, because remember we're trying to keep track of what we've got along these axes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now. So this must be at least 5, and it's got to become a W pentomino, which locks this blue thing in here. So that blue's got to get out. That blue has forced a tetromino piece, a sort of Tetris piece here. So this is of size 4, and that's a 4. Oh, this is just gorgeous. So that's a 1, because you've got to have the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 in a 4-cell region. So this is at least a 5 now. So it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's going to be 9, isn't it? I mean, it's looking in so many different directions. Actually, can it connect there then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, that looks very plausible. Right, now that digit must be interesting. Oh, yes, hang on, there's a problem. Well, this is very forced, I think, because remember we can't orthogonally connect two cages together, and this digit is at least a 5. So let's think about how we can not do that. This could grow this into this position, but then it couldn't go. Let me show you. If it did that, it then couldn't go here, and it couldn't go here. So it's always got to go here, whatever it does, because we've got to make it reach at least size 5. And I think that, well, therefore this is blue, otherwise these cages are in the same region. And I think 1, 2, 3, 4, this has got to grow. And now this has got to be blue, otherwise again we're connecting. And oh, I see it. So no, it can't be a U pentomino, because that blue would be isolated. That blue's got to get out. So it's still got to grow. And we know, right, and we know we can't isolate the blue in the top, so that blue's got to get out. So can we force this not to be a 5? Yes. Yes, you can. This is beautiful. If that's a 5, what do you put in that cell? Because this region would have to contain a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's got no option at all. So that's at least a 6. That is beautiful. So that means that this has got to grow again. So it's got to grow there, which means this blue's got to grow, this blue's got to grow to get out. Oh, what's that now? Well, that's a 1 or a 2, depending on whether this cell is orange. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If this, right, okay, so if this region connects to this, then this cell couldn't be a 1, because we've already got a 1 in this region. So it would be a 2, and that would be orange. And that would make our blue isolated in the top of the grid, because we'd have a ring of orange. We'd sort of, this would be a lagoon surrounded by a coral atoll or something, and that would be bad. So that cannot be orange and must be blue, which specifies the size of the island as 6. And that's lovely, because then that's a 5 by Sudoku for the first time. So these are a 2, 3, 4 triple. Ah, this is just superb. This is the sort of puzzle that might make people fall in love with pencil puzzles, I think, because it's got that flavour to it, and it's just so pretty, isn't it? Not just colourful, I mean, it's just logically so pretty. Right, how could that cell be orange? If that cell's orange, haven't I created another lagoon? That blue can't get out, so that cell's got to be blue. That's got to avoid a 2 by 2 of blue, so that's got to be orange. My phone buzzed at me. Let me just read that message. No, it's fine. So, blue, 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 blue. This is still all... This blue up here still hasn't got out. If we look at this sort of the top of the Joshua tree here, and think about how it's going to connect to its friends, doesn't it have to come through this little cul-de-sac? I think it does. Which might be interesting. Okay. So, what do we do now? We might have to embark upon a count of these sort of 3-cell arrows. Okay, let's look at this one. So what's this? This is counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the moment. Now, so it could be 5 if... No, actually, hang on. If that was 5, wouldn't both of those be blue? Oh, this is complicated now. Right, so if this is 5, I think that's saying that everything else, because it's seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's saying everything else in this on these axes would have to turn blue. But if these can't both be blue, because that would create a 2 by 2 of blue, so that's not 5, but it can't be 6, so that's got to be at least 7. So it's 7, 8, or 9. I'm not sure it can it reach 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it can't actually be 9 because it can't get that many orange cells. So it's at least 7, and at the moment it's only seeing 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, right, okay, but this can't connect to this because that would be more than a 9-cell region, and it would connect this to this, which would clearly require these two to have the same digit in them. So given we've got to have 2 more oranges to reach a count of at least 7, it's not those 2. So doesn't that have to be orange? I think that seems to follow. So now we're at a count of 6 for this one, and we've got to work out where it goes next. So we're at a count of 5 for this island. 6, 7, 8, 9 would be possible. Oh no, it wouldn't. No, hang on, that can't. Oh, hang on, there's a prop. Right, no, this is interesting, because what I hadn't realised is that this shape now has to be kept apart from this shape, or it's got 2 cages in it. So those 2 have got to be blue. That blue's got to get out. And now this... Well, okay, so exactly one of these is blue, isn't it? And exactly one of them is island. So what we need... Okay, so the size of this region is either 5, which it is at the moment, or 6. It can't be more than that. So that is not 7, 8, or 9. It's 5 or 6. Do I know what that is? Not 5 is the answer, because it sees 5. Or this one? Okay, well this one sees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which it can't be. So this is higher than 6 as well. So that's 7, 8, or 9. Now, can this one get to 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It can actually. Although that's probably not going to. Oh no, I was about to say it probably doesn't work because you then couldn't get this. Oh no, you couldn't get this C out if that's 9. Ah. Yeah. So if this is 9, it can achieve 9age by forcing all of these to turn orange, but then that C up there can't get out, so that can't be 9. It's a maximum. So this is a 7, 8 pair. Oh, I see how it works. Right. So the trick here is to realise that there is a 7 and an 8 on this island. But we know that the cage cell contains the biggest number on the island, so that must be 9. That's the only thing it can be. was just thinking, okay. I was just thinking about the instructions and thinking, actually, could you have an island bigger than size 9? Which I'd been assuming, but I've just read the instructions again, and it says place some digits from 1 to 9. Okay, so that is fine. 9 is the biggest digit on an island. So from that perspective, it is a bit Sudoku-y. Right. Now this 9, so this is a size 9 island. That's going to be tricky. If it took that cell, it still only reached size 6, so this is definitely orange. And now it's of size 7. Can it connect here? Then those cells would be, and that would have to be a 1. And this blue would have to come down the side. Maybe, don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I knew what the order of these was. There's probably a way to tell that, but I don't think I know it. Can that be a 1? Oh, if that's a 1, that's a 2. Does that work? If that's 1, that's 2. So those two become orange. This would have to come down here. The answer is I don't know. Right, so we're going to have to do more thinking here. And I'm not sure. I've got to put a 5 in this 9 cell region. It can't go in any of those cells. So this has got, these digits have got to be from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Oh, I've just realised. This is seeing 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is 6. Oh, that's mighty. That's really important because it's got to grow. And that means it's got to go there, which means that's got to be a blue. So these digits are now 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And that's not 1 or 3. And that's not 2. And those aren't 4. Bobbins. That doesn't do anything. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, so has that really done anything then for us? Oh, has it restricted how big this can be? Oh, in fact, we know the number associated with this cell now because actually we've got everything on that axis and that axis figured out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's just a 7 by the power of adding up. So that must be 8, which means we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can only have one more. Which is probably interesting. Let me think about that. I can have one more orange, so it could be this one, and that would complete my 9 shape and force this to be a 1. What's this number then? Well, that number's at least 3, because it sees 3 already in this direction. But it can't be 5, 7, 8 or 9, so that is 4 or 6 only. Ah, okay, that's interesting. How could that be 6? If it's 6, I have to convert all of these to orange, which I can do, absolutely, except I create a lagoon, and I mustn't do that. So I think that is a 4, which means I can have one more orange cell over here. Ah, and that orange cell must be in this domino, otherwise I get a 2 by 2, which means that's blue, and that's amazing because that means that's a 1, and if that's a 1 it means that's a 2, and it means that's orange, and if that's orange, isn't that completing my 8 clue? I'm going to count this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is. So that must be blue. And this blue has to get out of the hole it's in, so that's got to be blue. This is putting a lot of pressure on my 9-cell region, which must go there and can't go here, or it would be a 10-cell region. So that's got to be that. That's got to be the 9th cell. Let me double check the count on this. So that is 9, so those must be blue. Oh, I see. Right. Right. Oh, in fact... Oh, this is lovely. Right. So this blue is a lagoon. It's got to get out, so that's got to be blue. But then, how could this not connect to this? If this is blue, for example, this has not got a cage in it, but all possible cages are given. So that doesn't work. So this must connect to this. That's the only cage it can get to, which makes it of size 5, which means this is a 1, 3, 4 triple. That means that... Okay, so presumably now we can do something in this big 9 region, can we? I am going to pencil mark it. Mark would be absolutely thrilled about this. That's not 2. That's not 6. I see. This is why you shouldn't pencil mark. It's done absolutely diddly squat. And get rid of some 1s from those squares. No, that's totally and utterly useless. Ah, okay. So instead of that, we will argue about... Well, I can get rid of that. But the reason I was looking over here was I was thinking about this. So if I know that this is counting 6 already, I can bluify these. And if I bluify those, I've got to avoid a 2 by 2 there. And no, that's not a 2 by... That is not a 2 by 2 of blue, Simon. Right, but I've got to be a bit careful down in column 1, don't I? One of these must be orange to prevent a 2 by 2 of blue. But whichever one of these is orange must then connect to a cage. So it must be... So that must be... Oh, and this can't be 5. Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, okay, this is a 4. Because it can't be a 5, so I can't make all of those orange. But I must have an orange in one of these. Now, if I made this orange, because this has to connect to its friends, the whole column would be orange. So that must be orange. That must be blue, because we can't have 5, and we need to connect the oranges up. So this becomes a 4. This becomes a 1, 2, 3 triple. Bilbo Bobbins, I can't do that. Don't think I know what's going on. We're probably going to have to work on some of these other arrows soon. I'm really surprised that I've got such a dearth of information. Oh, 2 here. So I can put 2 in my, in this island. Oh, that's strange. All right. So how is this 3, 4 going to get resolved? And the answer is, well, there's nothing in this column that could ever resolve it. This row is fully done. So it's not this row. So something in this row must impact upon this digit and force a unique solution. So that means that one of these is a 3 or a 4. Which is true, I think, but not helpful. Okay, what about this digit then? That is, it's counting 2, 3, 4. It's at least 5. So let's put 5 in. Can it be more than that? It could be 6, 7, 8, I think. So it's quite big. But I'm not sure we can say much more than that. What about, okay, what about that digit? Well, that digit... Well, what that digit can't be is 6. Because if we make all of those orange, then the left side of the grid is divided from the right side of the grid, from a C perspective, from a blue perspective. So that is a maximum of 5. And it can't be 1, 3 or 4, so it's possibly 2. So that's only 2 or 5, which is remarkably restricted. In fact, if it's 5, you've got to be a bit careful about keeping these two apart. So if it is 5, we'd have to do something like that, I think, which might be fine. It would mean this would be at least a 6, because it would have to be greater than the digit that's uncaged in its island. Oh no, okay, it's going to be this digit, isn't it? I hadn't appreciated this, but look, this digit sees a lot of very suspicious digits indeed. It sees 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And in terms of count, it sees 1, 2. So it could be a 2. It's either 2, 3 or 9. Now, can it really be 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No. The reason it can't be 9 is if you do 9ify this digit, there's a lagoon. In fact, let me just show you. If I do that, I'm pretty sure this can't get through the island and connect orthogonally to its friends. So that doesn't work. So that's not 9. This is 2 or 3. Now, if this is 2, it's done now, isn't it? So everything here would have to be blue. Now, why? Oh, that's lovely. That doesn't work for a whole new reason, which is that, well, it's sort of a new reason. This is not connected to a cage, so that doesn't work either. So that's a 3, which means that's not a 3. And I've got to put only one more orange cell in either those cells or those cells. Right, okay, but remember, I've got to connect this to a cage. So imagine that these two cells were blue. That's not going to work, because then this is isolated again. So whatever it is, whichever is the orange cell in these cells and these cells, it must be orthogonally connected to the 3 in order for the 3 to be connected to a cage. So that means all these cells are blue and those cells are blue, which means that's got to avoid a 2 by 2. So this is going to connect to this, I can now see. Which feels like that might matter. Oh right, it's just beautiful. This is just, Agent is just an absolutely gorgeous setter. Look at this blue lagoon that we've got going on. Now, this blue lagoon needs to connect to its friends. It's got a couple of ways it can do that. It could connect very directly here, or it could try and connect and come through this gap. But if it comes through this gap, this is isolated from a cage. So it must connect the simplest way, which is there. Now avoided 2 by 2. Now this needs to connect, so now we've all of a sudden got this up to 5 at least, which doesn't prevent this from being a 5. Hang on a minute, let me think about this. This feels very constrained now. Well, maybe I've got to think about that digit, because all of a sudden I've got some more stuff going on, haven't I? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is at least a 6. And I think it can be as much as 8. If both of those were also orange, it would reach a count of 8. So 6, 7 or 8. Okay, that's not helpful at all. Right. So, how does this work then? So now if this is because I've got this blue one here, if this is a 5, all of these have to be, all of those have to be, that doesn't work. Ah, this is very clever. Wow. Right. So how is this able to be 5 is the question I want to ask. Because if this is 5, I need to convert all of these into orange. And then I think the problem we've got is if you look very carefully at the blue cells, especially on the left of the grid, and we think about how we're going to get those cells into the bottom to touch this domino down here on the bottom right. How are we going to do that? In fact, I've just noticed that's got to get out as well, which might actually... Oh, this is going to force everything. Oh no, maybe it only forces it because I've put this string of oranges in. I'm going to check this in a minute. But anyway, this has to come out like that in order to get down here. And that's going to prevent this 3 from touching another cage. So this is wrong. This is a 2, which means it's only 1 more orange in all of these digits. Okay, so how these can't all be blue, because then these wouldn't touch a cage. So one of those is orange, which means that has got to be blue. This, it was true to say this has to get out, so that's got to be blue. That's nearly created a 2 by 2, so that gives us our last digit for the 3, which makes this blue. This has got to connect to a cage, so that comes down here. Now, for our... Oh, well, this has become a 5 now, because that is in an island of size 5, so this is 1, 3, and 4. So that's not 4. Oh, this is... Oh, no, I was about to malign this island for being naughty, but in fact, I've just noticed I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple along there. So that means that's a 6 by the power of Sudoku, and that's a 5 by the power of Sudoku. So this is a 3, this is a 4. I've got a 1, 3 pair now, so where does the 2 go in this quadruple? It's got to go here. So this becomes 1 and 3 down there. Now also, can we do better in terms of these digits? I've not put, oh I see, I've not put 1 and 2 into this 9 island. And those seem to have to be there. So this hasn't resolved my 3 or 4 in this position. That 2 is giving me that digit. Well, not giving me it, it's giving it, it's now got to be a 4 or a 5. And that's got a complete count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is a 6 apparently, which doesn't do anything up here. But it's going to be in the same region as this one, isn't it? So that can't be a second 6. So this is now 7 or 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay, but how does this connect to this? And the answer is I've got absolutely no idea. But what I can tell you is that it must connect to this. And therefore it can't connect, it can't do something like that. Because again, that's creating a wall down the middle of the grid. So this cannot take this cell. It's impossible. And in fact, to connect the blues on the right to the blues on the left, we're going to have to come along the bottom row now to do that. And we can't come up through this junction, or these are isolated. So we must continue, and therefore we have to continue to there, which means this cell's got to be orange to avoid a 2 by 2. So how big is this 3? Oh, I tell you something, that's got to be bigger than that digit. If that's a 7, that must be at least an 8, because this is going to be the biggest digit on the island. So that is an 8 or a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One of these is orange, so that's going to be 8. So, it's like we're sort of trying to create the Loch Ness Monster here, doesn't it? Look at that. There's Nessie. So this is actually Loch Ness that we're doing something with. And to make Nessie appear. So if that's 8, that would be 7, which is saying that Oh no, that creates a 2 by 2. Oh, okay, right. So if I do want to create Nessie, and I did actually, I can't because I get a 2 by 2 of blue in creating Nessie. It's very sad actually. If that's 8 and that's 7, that has to be blue. But we have to connect this up, so that's got to be orange. But now this, simultaneously, this 2 clue is filled now, so this needs to be blue. So we get to create the Loch Ness Monster, but we also create a 2 by 2 of blue, which doesn't work. So actually, that cell there is a 9, and we're looking for a 9 cell region, so we need 2 more cells. Okay, and we can't take 2 cells here because that will break this clue, so that is definitely orange. That is going to finish the count for this, which I think is going to make it 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that becomes 8. Doesn't help up here. And one of these is in. Which one? How on earth are we going to know that? That's... That's a worry. Oh dear. Which one of these? So are we making a sort of... What shape is that? That's like a dog shape. Or are we making more of a duck shape? A dog or a duck? I don't know the answer to that. What's it going to be that determines whether that's a dog or a duck? That's a bit of a worry actually, because I don't see what it is. I don't think it can be an arrow. We've done the arrows. This arrow is sort of completed just by whichever one of those I take. I don't think it's connectivity, because that's always going to be a barrier. Sudoku? I don't know. I'm worried I've made a mistake now. That's a bit worrying. A bit concerning. Okay, so perhaps I've got to do the right-hand side. Let's think about... I've got to get this blue. Well, I mean, it could just connect here. That would be very simple. Yeah, okay, here's a thought. There's only one island left to place in this bottom region. Now that island, imagine that island hit the bottom of the grid in any of these positions, doesn't matter where. That's going to create a wall that this blue cannot cross. So this island can never take a cell in the bottom of the grid. So all of those have to be blue. Those two, therefore, have to avoid 2 by 2s. And this up here has to connect to its friend, so it must get through there, which gives a 2 by 2 opportunity, and then I've got to connect this one out. So actually this all gets forced, and that's a 5, which doesn't, well, it was never going to disambiguate that, but it doesn't do it. So these are 1, 2, 3 and 4, and in fact there's a 1, 2 pair looking down there, so this is 3 and 4. That's not 3 or 4. That's not 2, 3. Oh, that's a 1. That's a 1 by Sudoku. So that's a 2 by Sudoku. That's a 1. That's a 3. So that's a 3. That's a 4. And that's all working quite nicely. There's an awful lot of digitage in this row of the grid. So what's that digit? It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 5 or 7, I think, by Sudoku. Can't be 6, can't be 8 or 9, bearing in mind this is going to connect to this region. 5 or 7 is all that is. That's not 4, I've just seen. Oh, so that's 4 in this row where I've got a 1, 3 pair now. That's not 4. Not 4. Oh, it's nearly exciting. I've got these weird 1, 3 patterns now. But I still don't know how this works. Okay. Oh, have I done this 3 clue correctly? Yeah, okay, that's finished, isn't it? What's going on? How does this finish? What's that digit, actually? That digit's weird. That digit can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, or 9. That's a naked single. That's incredible. Good grief. Right, so this digit, because it's going to join in the end to this 9, can only be a 7. And that makes that one a 5, which means actually I get some jobs done in the top of the grid. Yeah, there's a 1, 2, 3 triple here, and the 2 in that triple is up there, so that's not a 2. I'm trying everything I can to disambiguate this 3-4 pair. Okay, so what am I left with here then? Well, now what? If that's in and we get a duck, what digit is this? I've still got to put 1, 2, and 4. Is that it? 1, 2, and that can't be a 1, 2, or a 4. So it is Sudoku. That's so beautiful. It's the fact that if I make this orange, there is no fill for the digit. It cannot be, let's just double check it. It can't be 1, 2, it can't be 3, it can't be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So that is blue. And we are creating instead a dog rather than a duck. And Nessie is just a mere memory. So now these square, oh, so where does the 1 go? The 1 goes here. This is a 2, this is a 4, and that gives me that digit, which is a 5. So all of a sudden I get a 1, oh, this is it. I get a 1, 2, 3 triple here, which makes that square have to be a 4, which does do my 4 and my 3 out of nowhere. So that becomes a 1 or a 2. Oh no, look, this looks deadly as anything. This looks deadly. Oh no, it does, it really does. So what have I done wrong? What have I done wrong? What would disambiguate things here? Let me think about that for a moment. This 2 would do it. Right, thank goodness for that. That's probably been there for ages. Oh no, it's not been. Actually, let me just unwind. That hasn't been there for ages. I did get that relatively recently, thank goodness. So this is 2, this is 1, this is 3, this is 2, this is 1, this is 1, this is 3, this is 1, this is 3. That is so clever. What a brilliant puzzle. Let's click oh, doesn't like. Oh, it's because it's trying to do Sudoku, isn't it? It's trying to understand this from a Sudoku perspective, and let's face it, it's never going to work. It's never going to, I mean, there's just too much missing. But the fact that it's like a weird combination of logic problem and a bit of Sudoku in terms of rows and columns, it is a beautiful puzzle. Agent, again, just mesmerizing us with these incredible hybrid puzzles. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Take another bow. We should be the ones genuflecting before you, I think. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I do enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.